This channel's real, this channel's about documenting, this channel's about talking, having an open opinions. And let's get started. Say whoa, say whoa. Say whoa. Head of a horse, the body of a man. Unidentified flying object. Welcome back to another video. What's up, guys? It's me, Donato Bay, and welcome back to another video. Okay, I got some notes here, so we're going to dive on into these notes so I can explain what video I'm bringing to you today. Now, I got this video from the Real, it's either Real Kia or Kaya. Please, girl, hope I'm not getting that wrong. YouTube channel. I'll throw it up on the screen. Now, it's a girl on TikTok, and her name is Sariah, baby, messing up names, y'all know me. But her tag on TikTok is Heaven's First Healing. Now, basically, she sees things on people that we cannot see. She does not call herself like a psychic or anything like that. But she just sees things. And so I wrote down like some things I can kind of like give you, right? So like she can pick up on feelings and energies. I can do that. But she sees like spikes in people, beings, entities around people, poles, chains, different faces on them, and more. So today I picked out 6 people that I wanted to bring to you guys that she covered. And here they go. It's Keanu Reeves, because he's fine. Jeffrey Epstein, just want to know because of the history of who that person is. Erica Kirk. Candace Owens. This may be in order or not in order. I'm not sure, but these are the names. Chadwick Boseman. And Princess Diana. So I hope you guys do enjoy this video. And like I always say, do not obey. Stay woke. Peace.
The first impression that I get with him is that he is carrying a lot of people's energy with him. Almost like he's a sponge, like he has absorbed a lot of trauma and a lot of negative energy from other people. And I think that probably came from a good place where he just genuinely wants to be helpful. And I also feel like the reason that he tries so hard to be a good person now is because it feels like it's like a penance. Like he did something that he really, really regrets when he was younger. I don't know what age, but at some point earlier in his life, he did something or saw something or participated in something that he really, really regrets. And it's almost like he has changed his mindset or changed the goals in his life to be the kind of person to make up for that, if that makes sense. Can feel quite a bit of disheartened energy about him. And I think that that's probably connected a lot to how many other people's negative energy and negative emotions he's taken upon himself. He has an inflatable, like an inflatable tube around his neck, kind of like if you're drowning and you can't, like if you're a paraplegic and you need something to keep your head above water, they'll put like that, a flotation device around your neck to keep you above water so that you don't drown. I don't even know if that's a real thing, but that's like what my brain is going to. But that feels very much connected to grief, or like a really, really intense period of suffering in his life where he felt like he was drowning and was barely managing to keep himself above water. I get the impression that he's really proud of his hair and that it's a really strong part of his identity. It almost feels like a cultural thing. The energetic attachment that he has to his hair. Not sure what that would be for. He really feels like somebody who's suffered an immense loss, like an earth-shattering loss. And you can kind of see that in, let's see, where's my hand? You can kind of see that like right here in his heart area. There's a lot of like dark, heavy, like sad, depressed energy It's very like purple and black and gray in this area. And it feels old, kind of like how bruises kind of like fade to different colors over time. That's kind of like the energy that I'm getting, is that he has a wound that is not healed and not healing very well. That's just kind of very, very slowly shifting in his heart. I can feel a bit of a sense of longing in him for simpler times. So like reminiscing on his childhood. I don't know if it necessarily has to do with anybody specific in his childhood, but just kind of the remembrance of when life was simpler and easier. I think that he has a little bit of longing for that. He has a very small negative entity on his back. I don't know what it's for or how long it's been there or what it's doing, but it's definitely not a good thing. He has scars around his mouth of where his mouth was sewn shut, energetically speaking. I don't know what the situation was for or why that happened to him, but whatever that situation was must have been very uncomfortable for him. He has energetic connections with other people coming out of his shoulders, like this area of kind of like where we carry the weight of the world. Like he has some connections going out that are connected to other people. Some of them are a little bit nicer looking, like he has like a green one on this shoulder here going out, and that feels like it's connected to a woman. That feels like it's not even necessarily a negative connection all the time. Like maybe sometimes it's a healthy one and other times it's not. But then like over here on this shoulder, he has like a thick tubular kind of connection that's kind of like brown and mucky and gross looking. I don't know who the connection is with, but somebody is either putting some negative energy into him or is trying to take some positive energy out of him. Sariah, I have and I practice the gift of discernment. I don't always see everything and I'm not always right. And I did not want to make this video. In fact, I've said many times that I wasn't going to make this video. However, my mom requested that I do it. So here you go, Mom. This is what I see when I look at Jeffrey Epstein. All right, the very first thing that comes up with him is the number 14,000. That number is important for all of us to know and for all of us to remember. The next thing that's coming through is that his energy is ripped wide open. His body is a puppet. He has been possessed more times than we could even begin to count. And honestly, you don't even need me to tell you that. Like, we can all see that he is disgusting and sick. Like, we all know that. I also, this is just my personal belief, I do not think that he is dead. I think that his death was a farce and that there's more going on behind the scenes than we could even possibly begin to understand at this time. I'm getting the mental image of his jaw unhinging and his head peeling back, and there being a very specific entity inside of him that is constantly there. And as I said a minute ago, he gets possessed countless times. This is one that is always inside of him. The impression that comes with that is that he opened himself to be a vessel, and that was something that he specifically designated his body for. I also get the feeling that he absolutely hated his mother. I'm getting a name. The name is Sarah, and then Cleveland. I don't know if Cleveland is the last name or if Cleveland is like Cleveland, Ohio. She wants me to tell her mother that she misses her and that she loves her and that she's okay now. She was a beautiful girl. She was blonde. She was young. I couldn't tell you exactly the age, somewhere between the age of like 8 and 14. I'm trying not to look too hard, but that's the sense that I get. I'm also getting the name Madison. Madison feels like she was from California. She is a little brown-haired girl, and she can't wait to see her auntie again. The next thing is a boy named Cameron. Cameron is from Dallas, Texas. Cameron, he had like reddish blonde hair. He was also very, very, very young. I think his parents were drug addicts. And he wants to be heard. He wants people to know that he is still here. His spirit lives on. Jeremy, Elijah, Emily, Emma, Patricio, Candace. They want me to tell you that he has ripped something open. He opened something. him and the people that he was with. They ripped something open spiritually and energetically, and they're trying to warn us, they're trying to warn the world of the damaging effects of what he has done. And unfortunately, it goes beyond even the atrocious crimes that we've all been hearing about recently in regards to him. I personally have avoided anything and everything to do with this man. Anytime a video or anything has come up on my feed that has to do with him, I'm skipping it. I'm not watching it. You could not pay me enough money to look through those files. Whatever it was that he tore open, it is an invitation and a space for unspeakably dark influences to enter our world and now have purchase here. I don't even know how else to say that. That's just the only phrase that comes to mind. Energetically, he has 3 male appendages. Don't know what that means energetically, but it's there. He has the mark of the dragon. I don't know what that means, but that phrase came to mind very strongly. It's like every single cell in his body, every single atom that makes up his existence has a piece of someone else that he took from them and incorporated into himself. Almost like he is living on the energy that he has taken from others.
Real quick, I would just like to say that that's what I feel that they have been doing this whole time. This is how those that be, those that run the world, the ancient ones, the evil ones, continue to drain off of life sources. The younger, the better, okay? So just think about it. They can manipulate time, they can manipulate the world. So why wouldn't it be easy for them to continue to do what they do and use children as batteries?
The deceit goes beyond him. That's the phrase that keeps coming to mind. The deceit goes far beyond him. There's so much more. We only know about this because we were allowed to. There's so much more. So the first thing that I'm seeing here with her, I've been sitting here for several minutes trying to figure out how to describe it. So she has this giant metal box behind her. And the word that comes to mind with that is that it's made of iron. And it like is connected to her shoulders. So it kind of like comes up over her shoulders somehow. I don't understand what it is. It's not like anything that I've ever seen before. But that iron box that she has, I can't see anything that's inside it. So it's very, very well protected, very well locked away. I get the sense that there's things inside of it, but I don't know what they are. The next image that I'm getting when I look at her is like her face being pulled, like one side being pulled open and the other side being pulled open to reveal like a glowing orb, like being or soul inside of her. It's very interesting. I don't know if that's just a representation of her spirit or if it's a representation of her connection to the divine, or I don't know what it means or what it is, but it's weird. It's interesting.
All right, so you guys seen the document. So basically, I was just letting you guys know that she was actually in that program. Her and Charlie Kirk both were in that program. And she's talked about it and has, explained things herself of, whatever she's went through. So, of course, there were more kids like that in that program. And I remember taking these tests back when I was in elementary school. That's all I have to say. So, yeah.
Next impression that I'm getting for her is that she has a recurring dream that she's been having for a very long time. and she needs to figure out what she needs to learn from that dream. She needs to like take a really serious look at it and figure out what her spirit is trying to tell her with that dream. She has golden trails of light that connect from this shoulder and out of the top of her head that just go directly upwards to heaven. That's pretty cool. Another thing that keeps coming to mind over and over and over again with her, I know that she said in a video recently that she has been astral projecting ever since she was a child, like it's just something that she's done naturally. But the phrase that comes to mind with her over and over again is that she has traveled interdimensionally. So I'm guessing that that's probably connected to the fact that she astral projects, but yeah.
Hence the term gateway kid. Look it up.
Yeah, interesting. She feels very well protected. Like looking at her energy and her spirit, like I don't see any wounds or weapons or chains or like anything like that on her. I get the feeling she has a lot of people that are praying for her and praying for her protection. And I also think that she likely also prays for her own protection. But yeah, she's very well protected. If she were a client of mine, I would probably warn her to be careful not to allow bitterness to consume her. I know that Charlie Kirk was a really good friend of hers and that she's been very angered by his murder and has been working really hard to try to get to the bottom of why he was killed in the first place. But I would caution her to, absolutely get down to the bottom of it. I'm not saying don't look for it, but I would just caution her to be careful to not allow the bitterness and like the low vibrational energy of all of that to consume her. I'm picking up on some energy that she has a burning question that she wants answered, and it's not about Charlie. It's about something else. She has a question that she really, really wants an answer to, and she doesn't have that answer yet. I'm not going to go into any more detail about that. Yeah, the overall impression that I have of her is that she is someone who is fiercely loyal. The word tiger keeps coming to mind, which I think is funny. But she is loyal and she's determined and she's very, very strong. And she feels like she has a solid grounding of support. And there's a reason that she is where she is. There's a reason that she is as successful as she is. She's very well supported and she has a great sense of like where she needs to go and what she needs to be doing. This is interesting to me. I think that this little tag under the video popped up like the day after I posted it saying it's ineligible for recommendation. So I clicked on the little link at the bottom and it took me to this. And it says that it's ineligible for recommendation because it was misinformation. Interesting. Misinformation. So which part of it was misinformation? Was it the part where I said that her grief for her husband wasn't genuine? Or maybe was it the part where I said that she was really conniving? Or maybe it's the part where I said that she isn't completely in control of her life and that there are other forces at play? Because those are the only things that I could think of that would have potentially been flagged as misinformation. And I don't know about you guys, but anytime one of these little tags pops up on a video where it's like, check your sources or something, my first gut response to that is, I'm going to look into this more because whatever this person is saying is probably accurate. And I also find it very interesting that this is the only video where this tag has come up. I think I've made like 15 videos at this point, maybe even more. I haven't been keeping track, but it's the only one that has been flagged for misinformation. So interesting, especially based on what we've seen over the last couple of days that has come out about how her husband, I guess, changed his will right before he died because she was having an affair. And we have proof of that now. So is it still misinformation? Or can I get this video monetized?
And this is the video that she's talking about. I went and I found it. Enjoy.
Sariah, I have and I practice the gift of discernment, and this is what I see when I look at Erica Kirk. And I'd like to preface this video really quickly by giving a little bit of backstory on my first experience with her. I didn't know who she was until after Charlie Kirk was shot. So I knew of Charlie Kirk. I had seen some of his videos and things before, but I'd never dived too deep into his story. So I never knew what Erica looked like or who she was until the day of his funeral. Now, no matter how you feel about Charlie's message or his politics, I think that we can all agree that the way that he killed was horrifying and traumatic for a lot of people. And after I saw the video of him being shot, my heart just absolutely broke for his family. And I remember I started watching a clip from his funeral where they were introducing Erica and she was getting ready to come on and give his eulogy. And I was just sitting there crying, just like my heart just absolutely broken for this poor woman and her poor children and just the absolute devastation and grief that she must be experiencing. But then she started to speak. And I was so shocked by the disconnect in her energy and the utter inauthenticity of how she presented herself that I actually stopped crying. Like it snapped me out of it. I stopped crying and I just watched her totally dumbfounded because she was saying some really sweet things, but her energy and the words that she was saying did not match up at all. And then I was surprised more than anything else when the impression came just a few moments after she started speaking. She was lying. I don't think that she believed or felt any of the things that she was saying. That was the impression that I got in that moment. And it was shocking to me because that was not the story that we had been told. Like in the news and all of the media coverage, it was always, she's this grieving widow. And it's like, well, yeah, of course her husband was just murdered. And like all of these people were there and witnessed it. And it's like this horrifying, traumatic event. But that was not how she was presenting at all. It was crazy. Anyway, so with that said, this is what I see when I look at Erica Kirk. Let's get into it. So the first thing that I notice when I look at her, which I think is a very common thing when anybody looks at Erica Kirk, is her eyes. They are absolutely filled with deception. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term duper's delight, but basically it just means that when somebody is deceiving you and they think that they're getting away with it, they'll have this little like involuntary smile that gives away the deception. So you don't see it in her mouth here. She has very good control over her mouth, at least in this moment. But it is so intensely in her eyes. Like you can just, it's palpable. Also, if you haven't seen any videos of her doing like the talk shows and the interviews and all that stuff, go watch those interviews and watch. That little smile will creep in the weirdest times where you're like, why did she just have a little smile there? It's duper's delight. The next thing that I'm picking up on is the word strategy. It just keeps coming into my mind over and over again. She is a very strategic woman. She's very manipulative and she is very cunning and she's very smart. The next thing that I'm seeing here is she has dozens of tubes that are going out of her body in all kinds of different directions, where she is negatively connected to a whole bunch of people and is pulling energy. It's like she's siphoning energy out of them. I don't know exactly what the energy is that she's taking from them. I don't know if it's physical energy or if it's emotional support or whatever it is, but she is taking a lot of energy from people. Another impression that I'm getting for her is that she was programmed and prepared from a very young age to do the things that she is doing now. I'm also getting the imagery in my mind of her having two tongues. And what that means to me is just that she's saying one thing to one group of people and an entirely different thing to a different group of people. I also get the impression that there are people in the background that are heavily influencing the decisions that she makes, that she is not completely in control of her life. I mean, she has control in certain areas and with certain things, but she's not always the one calling the shots and making the decisions for the things that she does. I'm also picking up on a disconnect between her and her children. It's very strange because usually mothers will have energetic connections like between them and their kids where it's just like that really powerful mother-child bond. But there is a disconnect between her and her kids. And I don't know if that's like maybe she's just emotionally unavailable to them or if it's a trauma thing or what is going on there, but she's not very connected to her children, at least not in this picture. So she also has energetic damage to her ears. There's like old scars and new scars and damage and bleeding, and it's like there's chunks out of it. It's very gross looking. I don't know what it means, but it's yucky. Another thing I'm picking up on here is that her energy out of the top of her head is wide open. So you can call it your crown chakra, you can call it your brain field, you can call it whatever you want, but we want our energy up there to be closed. We want it to be protected and sealed off and shielded, right? But hers is absolutely wide open. I don't know how that affects her. I don't know if it impacts her or if it's even noticeable for her, but yeah, it's there. I look at Chadwick Boseman. All right, so full disclosure for you guys, because I believe in being upfront and honest about things. This is the second time that I'm making a video about him. So I made a video about him last night, and after I finished making it, I felt very strongly that I needed to remake the video and edit some of the things that I said, and really it's mostly for my own protection. I chose Chadwick Boseman because he's like, he has shiny eyes, you know, and he seems like a really nice person. And I loved him in Black Panther. I think that he's amazing. And so I was hoping that doing a reading for him would be like a really positive thing. But then as it was going through, there was just more and more things that kept coming through that were like really dark and overwhelming. Anyway, so with all of that said, let's get into it. So the very first impression that I got for him is that he was cursed. That is not something that comes up for me. In fact, I don't know if I've ever had that come up, at least not in this way before. I do know that he died of colon cancer, and I can't help but wonder if those two things are connected somehow. In fact, I feel very strongly that they were. This next part I'm going to edit. This is one of the pieces that I'll be editing for my own safety. He has a covering over his head, and I'm not going to describe it, and I'm not going to go into any more detail beyond that. But just like I said, being upfront with you guys, I'm going to try and give as much information as I can while still protecting myself and probably protecting you guys too. But yeah, he has a covering over his head. The next thing that came through last night, and it was so powerful, it actually brought tears to my eyes and made me feel like I was going to vomit. Like I had to stop recording for a little bit because the feeling was so overwhelming and I felt so sick to my stomach. But I could hear his voice echoing over and over and over and over in my head. The phrase, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. Just over and over and over. And even just saying that now, like I can feel the heaviness and the nausea and like that, just how dark that is just settling in my stomach. This next part is something that does not happen very often for me. I could probably count on one hand the amount of times that this has happened, but there was a very specific name that came to mind. And when I said the name out loud, my heart dropped. And I, once again, had to stop recording. And I was like, what is even happening right now? Like, this is insane. I'm not going to say the name. All I can say is I didn't even Google the name. It is not a famous person. It is not anybody that I have ever heard of. However, I do feel very strongly that this name is connected to some very, very dark and dangerous, maybe voodoo can be the right word to describe it, or witchcraft, or something like that. But once again, for my protection and for yours, I am not going to say the name that came up. And I know that's probably going to be disappointing. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments of people saying like, what was the name? What was the name? I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to tell you. We're just not going to go there. The next thing that I noticed on him, sorry, my throat is getting really raspy. I think I'm getting sick. But the next thing that I saw on him is the bottoms of his lungs are very, very dark. And it's not like the whole lung. It's just like the bottom couple of inches of his lungs are very dark. I'm not sure what it's connected to exactly, but just something I noticed. And another thing that I picked up on with him is that he carries a lot of his like negative energy and trauma and like painful emotions and stuff in his legs, which is really interesting to me. Like when I look at his legs spiritually, they're like very, very large and very sore looking, which is strange, but yeah. Now, with all of that said, like I know that that was a lot of really heavy negative stuff. With all of that said, he had, like, I get the impression that he was a very kind man and that he was very loving and that, like, very grounded, which is very interesting because there's this strange juxtaposition between the, like, the weird, freaky darkness that he had with him with the kindness and the goodness and, like, the genuineness of his nature. And, like, I can't help but feel like he got caught up, and I know that this is something I say a lot about celebrities, but it just keeps coming up over and over again. He got caught up in something that swept him away, and some really, really dark stuff went on, and I think he felt very powerless to it. So maybe on a little bit more of a positive note, his heart is very open. So a lot of times people will have like negative energy around their heart where they're like self-protective and there's like chains or there's, you know, blockages or there's walls or like whatever. His heart is very, very open. And that's one of the things that makes me think that, you know, he was a very kind and very loving man. My heart really goes out to him and to his family. I know that he passed on, I think it was back in like 2021 or something like that, sometime around then. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, I feel for his family and for his loved ones, and I hope that he's able to find the peace and the healing that he needs on the other side. Princess Diana. The first thing that I'm noticing in this picture is her tongue is being held by somebody else. So she has things that she really wants to say and probably needs to say and is not able to say them. And that, I mean, it makes sense based on what we know of her life. She has what looks like a wedding veil draped over her face and like over her head, and it's like cinched around her neck with like a beautiful piece of satin fabric of some kind, and it's like tied up into a bow, so like it looks really pretty, but it feels very suffocating. This picture was taken, I think, in June of 1997, so it was just a few months before she died. But looking at her eyes in this picture, she knows something. Like, she knows that something is coming, and I think that she was resigned to it. Her heart energy is so beautiful, and it's so sad. Like, it's heavy, but it's also so loving and so caring. So it's like she's carrying so much sadness with her, but despite that, she's still able to share her love and her kindness with the people that are around her. The phrase, "she was killed because of an accomplice," comes to mind. So I know that her official ruling of death was that she, you know, that it was an accident, but none of us believe that, right? But I don't actually know what the conspiracy theory is of why she was killed in the first place. I should do more research on that. Oh. She has leading strings in all of her hands, but they're connected to so many children. And it's interesting because leading strings is something that I've only heard in like really old-timey movies, so it's weird that it's like connected with her, but I think leading strings were what people used to help babies learn how to walk or something like that. But she has leading strings in her hand that are connected to children from all over the world. She has energetic handprints all over her body that are like burned into her skin. And they feel like they're from a couple of different people. I do think that one of them was her husband. This is absolutely not news to any of us, but she feels like she had an extraordinary penchant for kindness, and that was actually one of her gifts. Like, one of her spiritual gifts here on earth was an ability to feel love and care and compassion for people in a way that a lot of people don't naturally feel. She has a long-stemmed rose that still has leaves and thorns connected to it, that is like, it's kind of like back behind her head, and it's like tucked down her shirt against her back. So it's like the rose portion that's beautiful you can see, but all the little thorns that are stabbing her are hidden underneath. I also think it's really beautiful that even 30 years, almost 30 years after she died, the world is still mourning her loss. Like, there are children who were born long after she died that are learning about her and crying when they learn about what happened to her, because like, we can still feel the effect that she had. We can still feel the kind of person that she was when she was here. She has such a beautiful, sweet and soft feminine energy that is just, it's delicate and it's precious and it's beautiful. And like, just looking at her and feeling that from her, it inspires me. Like, I want to be more soft and more feminine and more loving the way that she was.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?